Hi. See. Hey, Doc. Come in, come in, come in. Beautiful people. Look around, see if there's some people you haven't met yet. I don't know if some of y'all might have met Tavion when he's here before, and this is Kurt and Taiwo. How do you spell that? Got it. Taiwo. Got it, got it, got it. Hey, Ernie. So apparently we're trying to adjust some light levels on the screen. You're not going blind. I don't want anybody to go out and feel like you have to smoke something. I'm just doing this for my eyesight. Anyway, I have a lot to say and a great energy about today. There's still more stuff here. Can somebody take that over there? There's too much stuff on my... All right. Much better. Too much stuff around me. I start feeling, I can't breathe. It's a beautiful day. It's a hot day. I predict it's going to be a hot summer. I see in the vision. You can quote me on that. How did he know? I got a lot of response on my post yesterday, but he had to go to Eatonton, and I went out to get something for breakfast. And something about when I walked out and it was a hot morning, it totally felt like those first few days when you're out of school in the summertime when you were a kid. And I don't know, it just started this whole neuropath chain of, you didn't have any deadline. It was just, and that's, I know some of you millennials have never heard of this. Once upon a time, people went outside and played. They played all day long, and they used this, what was it called? Their imagination to make up games. And remember when you just go out and stay out all day and you stay till after the street lights came on and the fireflies were out, and it was just such a, and I couldn't really express it. For the reason I did the picture of the Nutty Buddy is, remember when you'd hear that jingle of the ice cream truck and just nearly break a leg running, trying to go find some change, and you got to get it done. And the thing is, the guy's not going anywhere. He knows y'all got to get your money, but you run like crazy people, trying to get your, and oh Lord, that was nirvana when that ice cream truck came in. Oh Lord, let's just take a moment. That's some good times. Yeah, mine was Nutty Buddies, and anything was popsicle-y. Popsicles. I love banana popsicles. I used to like grape popsicles. Everybody, now somehow I missed the bomb pops. A lot of people post about bomb pops, but that kind of wasn't on my radar screen. We got, a couple of years ago, it was the night before 4th of July. What are you looking at me? Remember we got that drink, and it had bomb pops in it. It was like a blue drink, and they posted. I don't think I'd ever had one before. It was for the Peachtree Road race. We were staying out there the night before. Oh, yeah. Say what? Remember that took Pete? Now that's, I'm believing that. I like my Nutty Buddy. Look at our first timers like, seriously? They're still talking about Nutty Buddies? Oh, this is you ain't never been to a place like Metron. All right, enough silliness. No, it's not silly. It's part of it. It helps you release endorphins in your brain and dopamine and all that. Just remember good stuff. And because there's things about all of our childhoods that we would like to forget. None of us had idyllic childhoods, but regardless of that, there's things you can remember. They're sort of universally true for everybody that bring you a lot of bliss. So we're in agreement for a beautiful day today. Please remain standing, and we'll get officially started for the YouTube audience.
Hello, and welcome to Metron. Metron means measure and sphere of influence, and we want to help you find your Metron. Through motivation, enlightenment, transcendence, renewal, outreach, and networking. We're excited to have you here today and hope you enjoy the service.
Good morning, Metronites. Welcome to Metron, the last Sunday of May in the year of our Lord 2019. Make sure you know the person next to you. If you'd like to embrace them, that's fine, but ask first. in this Me Too day, you don't just hug people anymore. And now you say, "May I hug you here?" And then you may be seated. So I don't have a artist for this month because we're still doing the meditation, and so we'll stay in that mode today. I do have somebody new for next month. We've still got to work out a scheduling glitch, but you'll like this guy. He's somebody we've never had before, and he's very interesting. So we'll see. He has lots of hair. But I don't want to announce him for sure until I know he's got this one date worked out. But we'll definitely have somebody. Okay. First of all, I want to say last week was amazing. Now, those of you that might not have gone to the meditation weekend, my apologies, because I know what that's like to hear somebody talk about something that you were not a part of. But you're going to have to indulge us and let us talk about it. Was that? Yeah. And some of it I want to save to my actual teaching part because, but I do want to say we've just completed our first year of doing these meditation weekends. I mean, because this past weekend was the year anniversary. So if you think about it, we've done 6 of them in 1 year, which averages out to like every other month, which is really kind of amazing. I hadn't thought of it that way, but every one of them has been successful. Even this one with a lot of people who had planned on coming, weren't able to. It was still a great crowd. And when you think about, wow, that's 6 trips in 1 year that people have taken time off from work, gone to their own expense, very little instruction about what to do. I mean, I've just said, here's a messenger thread if you want the information, get on. And the fact that I think it's the thing I'm the most proud of at Metron is that we've been able to go in this direction, and it's been so successful. And it seems like every one of them that we've done has had a particular. Each one's unique, and even though this was our return to St. Simon's, even this was different than St. Simon's was a year ago. We were there in August of last year. And I did not know when I planned this, or at least I didn't know that I knew it, is that we had chosen it to do it on a blue moon. And I've never seen anything like this blue. I've been reading about them. I wish I understood it better to explain to you what it was. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, like when you were in person, it's nearly like you were like, is that real? I mean, because I've never seen a move. I know it's not moving. It's the illusion that it's moving. But it was like this ginormous balloon came up out of the ocean, and yeah. It's a little too dark for the screen, but that's a really cool picture that BJ got some, and as did all of you. Ken got some great ones. But I've been reading about them, and there's a reason why there's the phrase once in a blue moon, because basically my understanding is every year has 12 full moons. And the way it works out with the calendar, about every 3 years there's a 13th moon. And so it means one of the seasons will have an extra moon, and they're called a blue moon for several reasons. Sometimes they actually appear blue, but there's all kind of information, too much to go into, about why they're called that. But they actually... they're ahead of schedule. They're like this surprise moon that comes out of nowhere that defies the logical order of things. And I thought, oh, well, that's symbolic. Okay. And I didn't even... earlier that day, I was just reading about what the weather was going to be like that day, and I had seen it's going to be a blue moon tonight, and I thought, because sometimes they'll advertise something's going to happen with a moon, and you go outside, and depending on where you are on the earth, it doesn't look like, I'll be looking at it like, what's the big deal? I don't see it. But this, especially there on the beach, was never seen anything like it. The sunrise the next morning was amazing too, but sunrises always are. This was just amazing. And I actually had considered if any of you wanted to share maybe something that you got out of it, maybe to share it today. I don't know that I'll do that unless somebody has something specific maybe that you got, or you may have already expressed it online. Let me tell you what I'm planning. I've gone ahead and put up the thread for the 7th one. That's going to be the weekend of August 3rd and 4th, which will coincide with Metron's, believe it or not, 5th anniversary. Remember last year we were on one for the 4th anniversary. And so this one I've given you 3 options, and there's some voting going on. Let me explain to you my thought behind each of these 3 options. One of them is Callaway Gardens. Callaway Gardens has a lot of potential. There actually is a beach there. If you've never been there, there's this butterfly house they have. We're actually taking my parents down there tomorrow because my mom has a friend that lives in Columbus who is not in the greatest shape. So what's supposed to happen is they're supposed to come up and meet us for lunch tomorrow. We're going to take them whether Betsy and Bobby show up or not. But so I like Callaway Gardens because it's close enough that if people didn't want to spend the night, they could just drive down. My only glitch with that is I'm trying to figure out a way that we could do it without you having to buy a membership to the gardens, because it's not exactly like Stone Mountain where you can buy a parking pass. It's more of like a membership. If you can go there for one day, and it's like $24, but the second day, I don't know that would work that way. I've got to figure that out. So I haven't ruled that out, but that's a possibility. The second one was Tybee Island. Tybee's okay. It's not the most beautiful beach in the world. The uptick or the upside to Tybee is it's right there at Savannah, and Savannah is incredible. If you've never had a chance to stay there, this will give you an opportunity to build a little vacation around it, and I'm sure we could find a great spot. We spent the night in Tybee on the way down there, and it's nice. There were some beautiful sunsets. The beach there is real shelly. Much more than the Golden Isle, so it's sometimes a little painful to walk on the beach. So there's that. The other potential, and this is the one I'm kind of leaning toward, is to go back to Jekyll Island, and the reason why. I would like to do one, and this will be a little bit of a logistical challenge, but I always try to do the beach things close to a restroom and where there's lots of parking. There is a spot on Jekyll Island, if you've never been there, it's called Driftwood Beach. And it's like going to another planet. I don't know what it is, but it's the way that the wood arrives there on that beach. For some reason, it's the way the tides will. And they're like these amazing, bizarre sculptures everywhere. That like these dead trees, but they're spectacular. They're huge. And what I'd like to this is my thought about Jekyll. Now Jekyll doesn't have as many options of staying as St. Simon's does, but what I'd like to do if Jekyll were to be the place where we decide to go, is maybe do the sunset meditation there on Driftwood Beach, which would mean you're not going to be really close to a bathroom. But I was thinking about it. I don't really notice people get up and schlep into the bathroom that much anyway, so I don't know that. Apparently, y'all aren't all that incontinent after all. We're supernatural. Well, I just don't want somebody to be in a bind and be like, what am I going to do out here at the beach? We'll be like, go jump in the water. I don't know what to tell. The big old ocean out there. But I wouldn't try to do a sunrise there because you do have to kind of walk through a little wooded area, and I think that would be too dangerous to do in the dark. But for sunset, because when you're down there, even after the sun sets, it's still light out there, so it's not like you're stumbling around in inky darkness. But I don't know, the idea of doing a meditation there at Driftwood Beach, that just seems like so mysterious, and we get some amazing pictures, and it's just, I don't know, I've been reading about the Golden Isles, and there's a lot more down there than I was even aware of, and some of them, they're not commercial, like there's not hotels on them, you have to take a boat out to them, like there's little St. Simon's Island, Cumberland Island, but it's amazing how each one has a thing, like there's a thing about each one of them that's unusual and whatever, and that's Driftwood Beach. That was us. How'd you find that? That was quick. That was supernatural, Michelle. That was me being cute it was us being cute. Boy, that screen stretches your face out really wide, doesn't it? That's big head. Look at the big head boys. But see how cool that is? Wouldn't that be like really interesting? And I don't know, I was even kind of visualizing that people could sit on if you wanted to, you could sit on the thing because there's a whole energy that comes from the trees or whatever. So, I don't know, like I said, this would be a little, I think what I would do is the Sunday morning, we would go back to where we went before because there's plenty of parking there and it's lit and that place was incredible. Remember, that's where the water's parted, so that's got its whole unusual thing on it too. So, but we're going somewhere on that first weekend of August. So put that on your. I love y'all. Y'all are like, we don't care where you go, wherever you go. I asked Patricia. I said, "Have you gone to all of these?" She's, "Yeah, wherever you go, I go." Just last week at work, the girls kept asking me, "Where are you? Where are you?" She's like, "I ain't even here. I'm on the beach. I'm on the beach in my mind. Y'all aren't even here right now." And somehow I still don't know how this happened because we're going to Wilmington this week because I'm doing a writing assignment. My friend Howie, that is his Backroad Planet. I've written an article for him before about traveling to movie sites. So I'm doing a thing for him. Before Atlanta really became movie mecca, they made a lot of stuff in Wilmington. That's where like Dawson's Creek and Blue Velvet and a lot of movies are made there. I had not Googled Wilmington. I did not put it on that thread. I don't know how that appeared, but somehow Wilmington appeared on the thread for St. Simon's, and some of y'all were already planning a trip to Wilmington. You're like, "Oh, that sounds good. I've already got my place." I'm like, y'all got to rein it in a little bit. I can't even joke with y'all anymore. Last year I was having a weird Saturday one day, and I said, I was just joking, and I said, we're doing a surprise meditation weekend in the Bahamas tomorrow, and some of y'all were looking for rooms already. I thought, Lord, I can't even kid with y'all anymore. But we will go somewhere, and honestly, I would be fine with any of those three locations because main thing about it's not that Tybie's so beautiful, but Savannah really is incredible, and so if you had a chance to, and it's a little bit, I mean, it would shave off about maybe an hour off your driving. That doesn't seem even phase y'all anymore. So anyway, that's the deal with that. Yeah, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That was in Jekyll. Number 2 was in St. Simon's. Number 3 was in Cherokee, which that one was amazing. We had a whole connection with the Native American stuff. And then that was in Unicoi, which that actually turned out to be really cool in its own way because the miracle of that lodge that opened up because the weather was just, we couldn't have done outside. And the Stone Mountain was amazing. And then that was, that's all in 1 year. Isn't that really, when I put it all together, I thought that's really kind of amazing. And then I don't know, it kind of got lost because the pictures were smaller, but I put together a collage yesterday of light, let there be light. So it was like just different pictures of moonlight, sunlight, firelight, those electric lights of the flowers that Avery got. It was just really cool when you saw all that coming together. And there's some other things I want to say about this weekend, but I want to save it for my teaching. That's, I said we'll have an artist next month. Our outreach this month, of course, is the movement, and I think they're into their 3rd week there, and it's going very well, so I'm really happy for them. Judah's kind of in a different flow than I'm in, and which is great because there's a lot of people that's what they're looking for is a more, for lack of a better term, traditional church setting, and there's definitely an audience for that. And I just want all those people that don't come to Metron from Conyers and Covington that call me night and day. I'm like, y'all call Judah now. He's out there with y'all now. And so it's kind of great. In some way, it's really liberated me to kind of explore my journey because this, y'all should know, this is where my head is at. I mean, it is. And that's no reflection on people who are looking for more of a church setting. There's certainly a place for that, and I did that. Actually, today, May 26, 1985 was the day I started Church of the Now. So today was 34 years ago today. So I'm very happy for him. And I haven't even talked to him a lot. I don't want to hover over him because I know what that's like when you're starting something. You know what that's like, Doc, when people are asking you every 10 minutes, how many people do y'all have? How many people are there? I'm like, oh, my God, it's so stressful. So I'm just kind of letting him find his equilibrium, and I'm very proud of him. And it's sort of a beautiful thing how it's kind of given me some more clarity. Because when I see what they're doing, I'm like, no, that's not what I'm doing, like, at all. And I don't mean that in any reflection. It's just like Metron's a very different thing. And I love that y'all get that. So I'm excited. There's something about this next one. There's, that number 7. Come on now. The seventh meditation and weekend. Doesn't that sound really like... On mysterious drift will it be? I don't know. I'm getting some Jekyll leanings. I think we did some of the You're Living Your Best Life. That's such a good picture of y'all. My husband took that. Like that. And that's over here, the new Whole Foods down here in Midtown. There's an area where you can go up on the roof and eat. It's so cool. You can just go get a little. I just got after working out the other day. I went there and got a little vegetable plate, and it's really, really cool. And that's what I ate. And so y'all keep up use the hashtag YOLYB19. So year of living your best life 19. I believe that was everything I needed to say. Okay, we're going to meditate today, but I want to give you a little instruction. And before I do, is there anybody that there is definitely something you'd like to say about last weekend, or have you said it all? Have you already posted it all? You may have already said it. I don't know. Anybody got anything, any observation you want to share about it? Okay. You glad you went? All right. Well, then we'll get started for the podcast people. If y'all are back there, back in the shadows. Are we? Huh? Hold on. Welcome to Metron Live Podcast, people of Podcastia. We welcome you. The Metronites welcome you. Metron people, give the podcast people a big hand. We're coming to you live from beautiful, historic Midtown Atlanta. This month we're focusing on meditation. I'm not doing a series per se. Every time that we do a meditation weekend, I try to devote the teaching, if you will, that month to meditation. And so I think we've learned a lot this week. And when I teach on it and then we go set aside time to do it, that time away really becomes sort of a laboratory to put into motion what we've been talking about. But my title this week, for the purposes of finding us, is Adventures in Meditation, Finding God in the Space Between Your Thoughts. And I do want to use a scripture today. This is out of Psalm 51. This is David's great, after he had done his thing with Bathsheba, and I mean it was really bad. It wasn't just them hooking up. It was she was the wife of a good and faithful friend who he was a voyeur. He was like watching her bathe at night, which that's got its own creep factor to it. This is the one who said, "The Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want." Just in case you went that David, and he wanted her so bad. Seriously, he brought. I'm not making this up. This is in the Bible. Y'all don't laugh at the Word of God. So he brings her into the palace, sort of. It's hard to, the Bible is written from a male perspective, so you don't really know how compliant she was, or if was that in a day and age where if a man wanted you, you really didn't have any say in it anyway. It's like not only just a man, but the king. So, who knows? I don't know if she was looking back from, I don't know if she set up the bathing thing, like, I'm going to have my bath now, David, but don't look. But anyway, all kidding aside, he actually has Uriah killed. so that he can have her. And it's really, I mean, that's dark on several levels. You know, there's not that adultery should, can have rules, but the unwritten rule is not with the spouse or partner of somebody that's close to you. That's like the double edge. It's not just the cheating, it's the, anyway. So all of Psalm 51 is him trying to do a mea culpa about that. That's where he says things like, purge me with hyssop, wash me and I'll be whiter than snow, create in me a clean heart, renew a right spirit within me, all that stuff. This is not a teaching on repentance, though. There's one thing that David said, which I want to concentrate on in the area of meditation, because David definitely had a high libido. There's no doubt about that. He was a creative type. Probably if he lived today, he would be diagnosed as bipolar. You can see in some of his psalms, which the psalms originally were songs. The middle part of the song would be like, kill my enemies, break out their teeth, O God, do not I hate them with perfect hatred. And then he'll come back at the end with, all right, create me a clean heart, search me, O God. So he was very, very passionate, definitely, creative type, a musician type. But he was also very internal. Like a lot of his writings, which was unusual for the ancient people, because ancient people weren't all that aware of things like the subconscious or the interior world. Everything was exterior. But if you go back and look at David's writings, he was very much about what's going on with me. Sometimes when he was dealing with bouts of depression, he would write things like, why are you cast down, O my soul, and why are you disquieted within me? I would really kind of do what now teachers will talk about self-talk and self-affirmation. David was already practicing that. Even the Psalm 103 that we're so familiar with, bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all of his benefits, that's something that you have to remind yourself of, just like, wow, I really am blessed. Like you forget. Last night, I don't know if y'all saw this thing on ABC about this kid that attempted suicide, and he basically shot his face off. I don't know, did y'all see this? And they did a face transplant of this other kid who was sort of similar. And it was one of those things where it was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm watching this. But it was fascinating. And, when you're watching these parents talk about, he literally just like blew his face off. And the fact that they were able to, it's fascinating just from the standpoint of the medical aspect of it. And this you remember that movie back in '97 with John Travolta and Face Off? Who did he trade with? Nicolas Cage. Well, this guy who's like this pioneer in plastic surgery, that's where he got the idea. He was watching it and he thought, I wonder if that would actually be possible. So there's a lot. I'm sure you could find it if you have Xfinity or something. It's an interesting watch. But my point is, I two or three things. At the end of the day, sometimes you have to process some feelings. Like, what am I feeling anxious or unsettled about that? And then when I watched that, I was like, you know what? Be happy. But whatever little disturbance you had during the day, that gave me some perspective. Yeah, all right. So. We all have our way of self-talk and self-actualization or whatever. But David says this one thing, and I think out of all of Psalm 51, this is the verse that resonates with me the most. This is verse 6, and this is out of the Amplified Classic. He says, behold, you desire truth in the inner being. King James says in the inward parts. Make me therefore to know wisdom in my inmost heart. Now, notice he's saying this at a time where he's being very vulnerable. If you know the rest of the story, Nathan the prophet comes to him and, sort of challenges him. And David and Bathsheba do have a child together, and the child dies. And so there's a lot that you can read into that. Is that karma? Is that, who knows? But it's in this thing where he's peeling back the layers of himself. What he's saying there is, I'm not blaming her. I'm not blaming my sex drive. I'm not blaming. There's too many reasons I could blame my illicit behavior. I'm not trying to make an excuse for it. I'm trying to understand. You know, at another point, David said, who can understand? It might have been in the same chapter. He says, who can understand his errors? Cleanse me from secret faults. So he's saying, what is it in my subconscious that makes me do things? You know, Paul, once in a while, when he'd come down out of his religious arrogance, he would get, you know, like in Romans 7, where he says, the things I would do, I find myself not doing, and vice versa. And so it's interesting when you read some of these writers who really would put the onus back on themselves. I think you all know this, but for the sake of the podcast and for YouTube, let me use this opportunity to say this again. And I already referred to a conversation that Danny and I had a couple of weeks ago that sort of gave me a platform to explain this. Of course I believe in God. If I have to explain that to you at this point, then you've never met me. Have my definitions of God evolved? Dramatically. And the reason why I prefer to, and I put myself in here too, to talk about personal responsibility and go inside yourself and find out what's up with you. Stop waiting for God to do this miracle, because I think it just keeps you going around your personal Sinai until you. Even Rutherford posted something last night that was pretty insightful. You know that Buddhist statement that says when the student is ready, the teacher will come. Robert posted. He said, when the student is ready, the teacher will come, and you'll find him in the mirror. And I thought, okay, that's good. Even, you know, I've had a lifetime of talking about favor with God and man, whatever. But let me tell you what happens to, like, these tornadoes just came through again. Just terrible destruction. I can't even imagine what that would be like to, in the middle of the night, your house just be obliterated. That's like, I can't even get my head around what that would be like. Like, just walk out there and look at, like, there's no you see these people, you know, rummaging through what little bits of fragments of things they can find. And inevitably, you'll see somebody who didn't get it. You know, their house is okay. You know, I want to give all God the glory. God saved us. Well, I'm thinking if I was your next door neighbor and my house got wiped out, I'd be a little ticked off at that, because what you're saying is, why did God like you so much better? What I'd rather say is I'd be grateful that it didn't lose the house. And if you weren't speaking destruction over your house and you were speaking protection over it, then yeah, take a little credit for that. To me, I'm okay with that much more than me saying, la, 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 God loves me, I have favor with God. I don't know what happened to you. Sucks to be you, but la, 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 I got favor. I would rather say I'm responsible for my life, and that includes the crap in my life too. I'm so willing to assume my responsibility, which to me is the ultimate praise to God. The ultimate act of creativity is the Creator created creators. Let us make people in our image and let them have dominion. So I'm willing to own my life and say, yes, I created all of this. The good, I've created my own tree of the knowledge of good and evil. I've got, believe me, there are many things in my life that when I'm look for truth in the inward parts, I'm able to say, yeah, I did that. That was on me. And let me tell you something. That's when you know that you've grown up, and it is at the same time sobering and liberating to say, yeah, I did that. I'm not going to blame God. I'm not going to blame the devil. I did it, and because I'm willing to say I did it, then I can find the way out. And let me, and this is what I believe God wants. People say, well, give God the glory. Look, Jesus said, it's necessary that I go away. I guarantee you today, while Judah's preaching, he's going to quote 20 things that I've said. He could not do it because he grew up listening to me. He doesn't have to stop every minute and say, I heard my dad say, y'all already know that. So what I want is for him to, find your energy out there and do your thing. And that's not just me, that's his mom, it's the village, it's his grandparents, it's all of that. So yes, it's me, yes, it's her, yes, it's them, yes, it's us, and yes, it's him. He doesn't have to stop every minute and say, I learned this from my dad. He's already walking in that. I don't have to stop and give God glory constantly. My life gives God glory. The very fact that I live and move and have my being and have come through unscathed on so many things, and I'm still here, that gives God glory. I don't, to me, and this may sound extreme, but to have to stop and, yes, all right, I acknowledge you. It's like, I don't think God's that insecure that he's like, you better say that was me. Of course it was you. I mean, the very fact that I don't have to say it all the time means it's so obvious. And this is why, that's one other thing I want to show you, and then I want to talk about this. It's just, it's interesting because we're going to Wilmington this week. And, oh, by the way, after we go to Wilmington, we've got to go to Smithfield, which is where Ava Gardner is from, because they have, I'm going to do an article, and they have an Ava Gardner Museum. Come to find out I'm related to her. I never heard that before. I was telling Mom said, yeah, we're related to her. I'm like, what? So I asked my Uncle Don, who, when he's not Trump bashing, he's the archivist of, I never say anything. I have sent him a couple of things, like, you might want to use this on your page, but you didn't hear that from me, and don't tell my mom. But the Mom and Don are the yin and the yang of progressive and conservatism. But I said, is it true we were related to Ava Gardner? He said, oh, yeah, there was a whole migration of people from Smithfield that went to Appling County, and we're related to your grandmother Tomberlin's maiden name was Aycock, and she's related to Aycock, who was the governor, and there's a statue there. I'm like, what? So there's a whole synchronicity thing going on that. But the point, what was my point? I was, David Lynch, because I was already thinking about him because they filmed the whole Red Velvet, Blue Velvet, Red Velvet. Think about this. We saw that Red Velvet frozen yogurt last night that I didn't get. But I was thinking about David Lynch because he writes a lot of things about, and it's just, I just came across this, and it's exactly what I wanted to say. The thing about meditation is you become more and more you. Now, I'm going to say this, and I think my mom's streaming today, so I'm not saying anything that she hasn't already heard. But, there's a lot going on with my parents. And so I texted my kids, and I said, look, I've got to go to this meditation weekend. There was a lot going on with Dad. It wasn't the best time for me to leave him. I said, but if y'all can step up and help me out, it would be great, because I've got too many people I can't cancel this thing. And they did, especially Jared and Christina stepped up, and Jared actually went and stayed with them while I was gone, which made things better and also complicated things, because Dad doesn't know who he is, and he wants him out of the house, and there's that whole thing. But he kind of saved Dad's life a couple of times, because the whole thing, Dad got caught in the railing that I bought for him and couldn't get him out. Mom, it was like, you can't believe all that happened. But then Jared has to go out in the middle of the night. I don't want to say why, but he has to go out in the middle of the night, and he actually got locked out. So while I'm doing this, I didn't let on this, but I'm getting, between Jared and Christina and Mom, I'm getting texts and calls, and everyone's a horror story every 5 minutes, to the point I'm looking at some of the stuff, I'm like, y'all got to be making this up. This many horrible, hellacious things could not have happened. Well, I gave your dad the medicine for the restless leg, but now he's had violent hiccups for 24 hours. I'm like, well, I'm on a beach in Saints, I can't do anything. And I'm literally, at one point on Sunday morning, I'm like, everyone breathe and close your eyes. I don't know, call Don, call the cops. Like, just think serene thoughts. Mom, I'm on a beach in St. Simon's. We're going to drive as fast as we can as soon as I get through here, but y'all are going to have to figure it out for a few minutes. I'm locked down. I know, I've already texted her and said that you're locked out. Sweet Jesus. I mean, at a certain point, I thought if this was a vacation, I would have already canceled and just said, this would just be easier to come home, because I'm micromanaging everything. I mean, I'm getting more, I don't get this much stuff when I'm home. I mean, it just got, it was bizarre. I was like, y'all are going to have to give me 5 minutes, But this is what I learned. This is what's amazing. I thought something happened because I'm okay. Somehow I compartmentalized. I didn't get stressed out. We got home and we took care of some things. I had to fix some things in their bedroom and change some things and that I felt was hazardous and made it easier for him to get up in and out of the thing, whatever. And refereed between him and Jerry. I mean, it was an interesting day. And we've gone from half the time Dad thinks I'm his brother Bobby. The other half he thinks I'm his brother Harry. Sunday night he was telling Ken that I was his dad. So somehow I have merged into all the significant male figures in his life. But the good point is he does what I say now, because he says, tell me what I do about that boy. I want him out of the house. I'm like, well, that's your grandson, but I'll get him out tomorrow. So whatever. I mean, it's just, it is, you have to, I'm not making fun of it, but you nearly have to keep kind of a sense of humor about it to keep it from being so sad. Like we were over there last night bringing him food. I'm laughing again because Dad says, who are those two men that bring us food every week? I'm like, well, that's us. So, but the good news is, and that's no reflection on my mom, because Mom frankly deserves a medal. She has, she is being full-time caretaker of him and taking care of everything in the house, whatever. So she's, this is no reflection on her. It's just, it's a lot going on. But the good news is I thought, wow, you know what? Meditation is working. Because a year ago, this would have really stressed me out and ruined the trip. It did not ruin the trip. Everything was beautiful. I was able to, some of you will understand what I mean with this, I was able to step in and out of it. Do you know what I mean? It was like, let me step into the real world and deal with what I've got to deal with, because I can't just, this is my responsibility. I can't be oblivious to it. But once I do that, I walked right back into serenity. I thought, I'm not faking this. Something in this past year of meditation has altered my brain chemistry. And, the more I read these real evolved Zen masters, what they all say is, if you can't meditate anywhere, you haven't really learned meditation. The idea of meditation is you could be in the middle of anything and quieten yourself down. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't sometimes you don't want to go away and get away. And, I will admit, I loved the mountains, I loved Unicoi, but there's nothing like the beach. There's nothing like it. It has a particular vibration on it, and every little thing teaches you something. Even Sunday morning, we were sitting out there, and the tide was coming in so fast, because I was sitting there, and I thought, what the heck? So I think I moved my chair like 5 times, and all of a sudden, what it said to me is, well, that represents reality. That tide is just going to come one way or the other, and it's not the end of the world. You just got to, it's an inconvenience. You got to move your chair. Even Roslyn had written about the sand fleas being Avery said I must have had 50 on at one time. I didn't even notice. And I said, you're exactly right. That's what, when you meditate, you realize all the other stuff is just annoying stuff. Oh, have you not seen that? That's a good, I'll send it to you. That's a cutie. That's a cutie. Your sister did great. I did. It's on there. You look at my page. It's on there. Y'all are so funny. I try to screen them before I put them on the big screen, because I know what it's like to go, I don't want that up there. So this is what I've noticed. The you might better screen these, Michelle. Michelle, you of all people. I have posted so many pictures of Michelle. She said, Bishop, take that off. I don't like that picture. When it's not you, you're putting them up on the big screen. I probably had to take 5 pictures down of you. I don't like that picture of me. You put them up for everybody else, don't you? Yeah. I'm going to remember that, Michelle. Anyway, I thought, wow, this is really interesting. It actually, it's kind of like when we were in Unicoi that Sunday morning, and I didn't want to. We probably would have been okay, but I didn't want to make you go up that mountain again, because the roads are kind of icy. But so we had to meet at that open area space, and the bikers were in there. And I thought, well, This is just going to be a lesson to see if we really are meditators. And as it worked, they all left. So I have no regrets about this weekend, and I'm going out of town this week. You will appreciate this more than anybody else here because, Dwayne and Sonny have moved up here to look after Ernestine and Wallace, who are hanging on by a thread too. And I was like, I don't know if we can. Look, they're in freaking London, England. I saw a picture. We're going to London. I thought, oh, I'm driving to North Carolina. If they can go to, if they can go to London, like, yeah, y'all figure it out. I'm going to write my article about my cousin Ava Gardner. Anyway, but I've been thinking about this thing about what does it mean, truth in the inward parts? Because this is what, and I don't even think I need to have to teach you this. You already know this. The more internal you become, the more awesome you realize you are. Now, you have to be careful how you say this kind of stuff to people who aren't tuned into this frequency because you can sound nuts. But I already told you this in that same conversation I had with Danny. What precipitated it is he said, I'm going to repeat this. He said, I went to the ATM. I got out $300 in cash. It only gave me $280. The bank was closed, and how do you even prove that it didn't give you your full? He said, I wanted my money back. I wanted my full money. So I went 5 days later to that ATM, and there's a $20 bill in there. He said, now what I'm asking is, was that a fluke or was that a miracle? I said, oh, that's a miracle. And I said, and that's the thing I'm talking about. You didn't have to pray about it. You didn't have to intercede. You sent out this energy, and you don't have to. God's okay with it. God wants you to be supernatural. This week before we left, yeah, that's right. Go ahead. Yeah. So before we went out of town, sometimes Frances will cook for my parents, and she said, I want to do some, and we go through a routine. I'm like, it's too much trouble, and yeah, I'm going to do it. Like, here's the part where I say this, here's the part where you say that, and then every time I'm like, yes, I'm really glad she did, so. Well, anyway, I met her here in the parking lot. She was good. This was Wednesday of last week. I was about 10 minutes early, so I was sitting there on my phone. She got here early. I said, oh, wow, didn't know you're here already. Okay. It's a lot of food. I mean, it's enough food for several days. I filled up their refrigerator with it, so I'm putting all the stuff in. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Here's the part where I say, can I reimburse you for the food? And here's where you go. Here's where you get insulted that I say that. It's like we're like, we don't always do it. Sometimes we do. But what's amazing is, I don't know how many minutes it was later, she said, I'm already home. I thought, you got to be joking. There's no possible way. When we were driving down last week, he got in the car, fell asleep. I was driving. The traffic was so long. He woke up and thought we were making. I said, we're not even to Jodico Flippin' Road yet. There's like it's taken an hour and a half just to get to Stockbridge because there was a truck with a wide load thing and so she made it home so fast. I mean, this wasn't even speeding. Like even if you had been if it'd been 45 minutes, I'd well you must have driven fast. In 20 minutes, I'm like that's. I know you're not lying, but that's. So, you got to be careful who you say that to because it's kind of time travel. Now, some people you say that to, like, oh yeah, really, y'all are in time travel now? That's it. So you got to be careful. You can't say it to everybody because some people they're gonna live in a different dimension, and that's their choice. Fine. But when I hear 5 days later you got the rest of your money in the same ATM, you got home, and it was close to traffic time. I mean, it was like. That's about the time of day that what used to be 5 o'clock traffic now starts about 3:30. There was like no traffic, and I keep saying there was one day. I don't know if you remember this, and you better verify my story. But this was couple of months ago. I live just blocks away from Mercedes Benz, and it's not Phillips now, State Farm. And so anytime if there's a game around my place, it's gridlock around my loft. Well, there was something going on at both of those venues, and they got out at the same time. So it was like I can't even get out of my parking lot. I mean, it's like there's gridlock as far as you can see, and we're supposed to be taking dinner to mom and dad, and it's already like we should have left 10 minutes ago. And I said, I need this traffic to open up and let us through. And so help me, it's like opened up. I don't know how to tell you where the cars went, but we pulled right through and made it to Stone Mountain before we were supposed to be there. Now, you could say, oh, that's just driving conditions. Fine. Some people heard thunder. Some people said it was the voice of God. You live in whatever reality you want to live in. Einstein said there's two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle. But when I keep hearing little things, was that a fluke? No, it was not a fluke. If there had been $40 in there, I'd go, it's still been cool. But it was the exact amount. And it's little things. You remember in Empire Strikes Back, remember when Luke Skywalker crashes his spaceship into the swamp, and Yoda's teaching him about levitation, and he can levitate the rocks, but he can't. He says, well, you can levitate the spaceship, and he can't do it. And he said, well, the difference is only in your mind. He said, if you could levitate the rocks, you could levitate the spaceship. I mean, I've been teaching around this for years. If I could believe I can pray for you and you be healed of a cold, why couldn't I believe you be healed of cancer? I mean, the difference is really, it's, yes. And we've all of us who came out of faith, we've all talked about those things. We think there's a difference. And you remember I've told you that story about John G. Lake, the great apostle who was a doctor at the turn of the last century and sold his practice and moved everything to South Africa. And the guy was amazing. I don't know if the stories are embellished or not, but if they're true, there's never been an apostle in modern times that has had like things like when the bubonic plague broke out in Africa. They did tests with him where they would take the blood from somebody and put it in his hand, and then they would put it under a microscope, and the plague would actually die in his hand. And he would teach things. You know, he raised people from the dead. He would teach things about not just divine health, but about divine life. And look, there's a lot of gray area there. When you read some of the things that Mary Baker Eddy said when she, started Christian Science, it sounds very similar to that, and about, sickness is only in your mind or whatever. Believe me, I understand the warnings about getting off into crazy stuff. I'm just telling you, I keep seeing things like that happen. There's no way you could make it home in that length. There's no way. Logistically, y'all live too far away to have made it there. I believe you're telling the truth, but when I read it, honestly, I was going to do LOL. Like, yeah, I bet you did. But even John G. Lake said, I've told you this story before, but he says that he was walking through a South African village, going from hut to hut, praying for people, and this one woman asked him to come into her place, and he said when he walked in, he saw that her baby's neck was broken. And he said, here I'm doing all these miracles, and suddenly my knowledge as a doctor kicks in, and I thought, oh, this baby's going to die. I can't do this. But he said, I realized the little guy who was my interpreter had no concept. So he looked at him and he said, it's time for you to learn how to do this. I'm going to step out. I want you to lay hands on. Well, the kid didn't know any better, so he lays hands on the baby, and the baby is healed. There is something to that. I'm not telling y'all to run home today and throw your insulin down the toilet. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying I keep seeing little flashes of $20 bills. How did you get home in 20 minutes? A big old bag of Raisinets. If those of you that haven't heard that story, I'm telling you, this happened. This has been, 2 or 3 years ago now. But I was thinking one day, I want some Raisinets. But I'm not. I don't need them. And then later in the day, I was going to go see a movie. He was on call. I was going to see a movie. I thought, well, I'll get some Raisinets while I'm at the theater. And I do want some though, but I'm not. That night, I go to the store, pick up 3 items. I didn't even get a basket. They were 3 things I was holding. It was like razors and Alka-Seltzer and something else. And get to the 10 or less checkout thing. Nobody's in line. There's nothing on the checkout counter. Somebody comes over and says, are you ready to check out? I say, yes, thank you. I pay for my things. Boom, boom, boom. Put my card in. Thank you. Get in the car, reach in the bag, pull out the biggest bag of Raisinets I've ever seen. I didn't even know they made them in that quantity. Now, if it had just been anything else, I'd be like, oh, well, somebody must have left something on that. I didn't see it. But I specifically wanted that day. Now, again, you can say, that's not a miracle. Fine. You live in your little finite world if you want to. But I'm willing to keep pushing the envelope. And I don't know how to explain. And if I'm being too extreme, rein me in. Y'all, standing on that beach a few days ago with y'all, looking at that moon come up out off the horizon, something shifted in me. And I probably have said that with every one of these, and it's been true for everyone. But like something, there's a reason why the prophets would talk so much about signs in the heavens, and because something does happen to you when planets change and all that kind of stuff. And so, if you ask, well, what was your weekend like? Yeah, I had stressful stuff. That just comes with the territory. I have elderly parents. It's just a thing. It's not. It's a thing. It's a thing that I'm dealing with, and this too shall pass. But in the meantime, in the midst of it, the real me is being revealed. And there was a time under legalistic teaching, it was the more you got into the real you, the more you hated yourself. Amazing grace that saved a wretch like me. Would he devote that sacred head for such a worm as I? So much of Christianity that was filtered through the paradigm of Mosaic law was about, you're no good, you're no good, you're no good. So we nearly didn't want, I would dare say we went in and worshiped God so much because we couldn't bear to look at ourselves. I don't want to look at myself. It's too... Paul even said, in my flesh dwells no good thing. Now, Paul, really? No good thing? I mean, that's a pretty extreme statement. No good thing. Like, there's not one good thing in your personality. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but that's not true for me to say, in my flesh dwells no good thing. No, I'm a good husband. I'm a good father. I'm a good grandfather. I'm a good son. I'm not perfect. I don't claim to be perfect, but I'm a good man. I mean, for me to get up and say, in me is no good thing. That's a lie. That is not true. It does not bring glory to God, and I don't believe that. And most of the things that I thought were wrong with me were things that people imposed on me from their wrong theology of the way they interpreted the Scriptures. And if he's streaming today, don't be offended. But on my meditation I wrote yesterday, some guy, I don't remember him, apparently we've had a conversation before. He must be kind of prophetic. And he said, the Lord showed me he wants to make you great again. And I wanted to say, I don't think I ever stopped being great, but all right. And there's no way to explain it to him, and and I'm like, I never actually stopped being great, but thanks. So I just did thanks and smiley face, because there's no point. I know he means well, and I tell you, if you can get a hold of this, what is it that Deepak Chopra says about you have to understand everybody is responding to you from their level of consciousness? It's just going to set you free to realize this is the level they're at. So that's fine. I can tell you this. If you told me nobody for the rest of your life is going to prophesy over you, I'd be like, okay, fine. I mean, it's fine. I've had plenty of prophecies already, and I'm to a point now I can do it myself. I mean, I don't need to. I'll tell me what my life's going to be like. I'll tell you what my day is going to be like. And again, that's nothing against all the, Calvin Witcher, all these, that's fine. If that's where you're at, there's a whole strata of people that need that. Some of us have already moved beyond that. I don't need to ask you what it's going to be like, because I'm going to tell you what it's going to be like. I'm going to speak it, and it's going to happen. And I'm telling you, it doesn't, I'm not going to say we're at a point where this happens 100% of the time, but doesn't it with the parking thing? And I never say, now we will always joke and say, look at God, won't he do it? But I mean, before I go anywhere, I will say, I need a parking space in front of so-and-so, and we're going to be there in about 10 minutes. And it was like, and we went to the Mexican restaurant one night this week again. And I said, well, I guess I didn't say it quick enough because there's not one here. Well, fine. It's not like I'm going to be mad. Like, I guess it doesn't work. He said, no, look, there it is. So I circled around him. Thank you. That was the perfect one right in front. Like, oh, yeah, there it is. Now, I'm going to say this, and I need y'all, if y'all don't hear anything else I said today, you got to get this. You've got to get this. If I may quote Yoda again, don't think you are, know you are. If you say, well, I tried that, I didn't get home in 20 minutes, you're missing the point. When somebody says, oh, I tried your little weather thing, it didn't work for us. Yeah, it's because you tried that little weather thing. You don't know that you have that power yet. So you're trying to hitchhike on what you think is my ability. This isn't a trick. This isn't a thing. This is an I am revelation. I know that I am God in the earth. And that doesn't take anything away from the God who created me, but I am an extension of him, her, it, whatever that creative design is. Yes, something created me. I didn't create myself. Constantly. So I don't have to. There's a reason why when Moses stood at the Red Sea and he starts praying God, it says you don't have time to pray. God says don't pray, part the sea. And I love y'all Christians. Y'all Christians are cute and all. But y'all are wasting too much time praying about stuff that he has already given you the ability to do something about. And I think a lot of prayer is just denial. It's like, well, I just want to believe, that God's going to work out. Well, go work it out. God gave you, there's divinity in you. And I could tell you this, with every time I've meditated with y'all, another level, another layer has been stripped away. And not the whole time, but there was for a couple of minutes while I'm standing there looking at that moon, I felt like I feel like I could lift right up with it. There's something in me that's feeling like, and you used to read some of these Tibetan monks and some of that stuff where, they're in the middle of praying and they levitate or whatever. Like, I could see how it could happen. You go in and out of this humanity versus divinity thing. Jesus did it before I'm feeling the presence of God really. Right before Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead. Where it says he groaned in the spirit. It's because, in one sense, the human part of him is weeping that a friend has died. But he says, just as quickly, I'm about to walk in the supernatural and say, Lazarus, come forth. And you have those moments all the time. All the time. Some of y'all have already been working miracles and you haven't even recognized it. I didn't, honestly, something hit me when I got home. I thought, wow, we did 6 of these in 1 year. Like, that's amazing. Like, that's like every other month. Like, how did we? And not one person has said, now, what are we going to do? Well, where am I going to stay? I'm like, not one. This has been supernatural from the get-go. Like, oh, I'm going to here meditate. If you want to go, I'll put you on this messenger thread. I'll see you there. You got to find your own place. I can't find your place. You can't be. I don't want to. The idea of renting a block of rooms somewhere and have to work out everybody's schedule, I'm like, oh, Lord, I'd rather just swim on out in the ocean. When you're dealing with next level people figure it out. Yeah, put me on the thread. I'll show up. Okay, man. I got people that never even did the thread before. I'm like, well, you got to be on the thread. I don't even want to communicate with you. Okay, fine. Boom, there we are. Walked out there Saturday night, lo and behold. I mean, that's kind of amazing. It's kind of like, the day of Pentecost, people start gathering from everywhere, like, that's amazing. Like, I didn't do any kind of micromanaging with y'all, and I didn't have time because I was like, call the paramedic. Um, so that's what I want to leave you with. That's a beautiful. BJ got some amazing shots, but even that doesn't capture it. Do you know what I mean? It's just like it was so big and moving so fast. Well, whatever. I know it's not moving, but the illusion of it moving was just extraordinary. I mean, I will never. If we'd only driven down for those 10 minutes to see that, it would have been worth it, because it was. So that's what I want to leave you with this month. Next month I'll go back to more kind of teaching again. But well, I think I will. But I want you to find yourself. You're going to love what you find. All right, well, let's do a little bit of it. Let's. Oh, if you've never been with us before, we're going to do a meditation right now. You don't have to participate, but it's real easy. I'm pretty sure most of y'all are evolved enough to get this. If you've never before, you can actually turn that fan off. That's gonna blow out my. Yeah, let's Charles, find me some music and we'll start getting in the zone. Go ahead and put both feet on the floor. Sit up straight, clear your lap. You don't have to close your eyes, but you may want to. We're just going to start concentrating on our breathing. Best way is in through the nose, out through the mouth. Whatever you do that's right for you, just become consistent with it. We're going to breathe in, hold it, breathe out. You don't have to do a mudra with your hands, but you might want to get in a posture of receptivity. If that's palms up or whatever, do what feels. Don't do anything that doesn't feel organic to you. If it doesn't feel right to you, don't do it. But by about your third breath, you ought to be getting into relaxation. Don't worry about your thoughts. You're going to think a lot of stuff. Just let the thoughts come and go. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Through your nose, out through your mouth. You're going to go internal. Think about for a moment what David said. You desire truth in the inward parts. Make me to know wisdom in the secret parts. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Be still and know that I'm God. Just let your thoughts settle down. In a moment, I'll wean you off my voice. You'll find your own inner chamber. I'm just acting as a facilitator right now to help you get into that place of quietness. The nose, out through the mouth. Inhale. could even sync up your breathing with the music, like when a chord changes. Like inhale, exhale, you just find that rhythm. Into the nose, out through the mouth. Find your I am place. God says to Moses, I am sent you. Such powerful words, I am. meditative mode, but I want to do something. I find different areas of my belief system coming together, being unified. So many things making sense now that didn't make sense before. I'm just going to do this without overthinking it. Just close your eyes wherever you are. I just haven't done this in a long time, but it's just very strong in my spirit, so I'm just going to flow with it and speak this over you. Sokarabashimbara kabrata stavo mahalakindia raste sobiando brotostos. Sitalamaki tiombroti kabase velmenela kanomodos dom zavroti kises. Mantara rohosumbele kitiandom brotishkans and vidi papastu balakaniantose. Jebebes van zakabrotiskas melekitia robrodish gileande deste sitomaratakasia. Sakorohonde kina zofrohoshki zabasve. Minguande kamati kombrotishka zefel bondakana mostovoritisish. Zeblando broski ma andanda sevato bush beza fuma haraka. Zanganda nandodoboko mikarasti brotishki zave debele kese. Pono rohosho delle carata seva la tiodoboso. Donde nando bade je giacomanze che frotis de bato swan delle cassi. Shovre da stombra di zeveliata vrotish che nada tondondo babasso vadaka. Miao nawa jombe zevela carapara sti sandara rahukone. Nchinkanda gonin di che teste. Sobro riti stivela tomba le catonda stose. Sotararando da non de panditi che c'è accanto sawani atabasso mi angiava boba zobele che ritish dom zafroti kabasa quen kamon kundangan jika basso vedella come ne con dio wasoya jivitiam bondastiata sti stara rosole tele lela comanante che javodo manzi blobroti cans paravesche chez toi retikia rosso. If you feel like you want to stand, you can do that. If your impulse is to raise your hands, it's okay. Go with what feels right to you. I don't have to understand everything that's happening. But I can tell you that God is here. God is manifesting in this place. Let's go ahead and all stand. Charles, just keep the music going. Just want to transition with that. Just breathe your way out of it. Charles, bring it back up a little bit. is the right thing. It's your God self is rising to the surface. The divine you is coming out. I noticed Doc had posted a picture of us laying hands on him, and I like what he said. He said, I was surrendering to my higher self. Yes, exactly. Exactly. The God part of you has to work through some emotional stuff. You know what I mean? But every one of you, under the sound of my voice, has the ability to work miracles, to live in that zone. It's not for special people. Everybody has that potential. This isn't something you write on a meme. This is the truth. Everything you need is already in you. All the abundance is already there. The answer is already in you. Stop looking for it outside yourself. Let it be revealed. Let it out of the heart are the issues of life. Let it flow out of you. Out of your belly will flow rivers of living water. Not out of God's belly, out of your belly. It's okay if you want to feel like you want to pray in your prayer language. Do it. Let's bring that back. We don't know what to pray for as we all, the Spirit makes intercession. Somebody has a prayer affirmation, you want to speak it out, we'll add the so be it. Just from where you are. Patricia said, I am abundance. So be it. Yeah, speak it out. So be it. Yeah. There's strong vibration in your words. Who else? So be it. So be it. Don't you feel the difference between saying, I love somebody or I am love? It's a completely different frequency. Try it. Next time you have a problem that you don't know how to figure out, say, I am wisdom. It's like, wow. Something about that. You know, when you start that sentence off with I am, however you finish out that sentence, very powerful. Very powerful. So be it. So be it. Yes. Yes. So be it. Yeah. So be it. So be it. So be it. So be it. All right. End on that one. That last one was just I am. Yep. That's the best one. Wow. You know, I forgot to tell you, Avery stayed an extra night, and she went out on the beach and photographed it. It didn't look anything. The sky was black. It just looked like a normal full moon. Just 24 hours later, she posted a picture on the thread. Like you wouldn't even know it was the same place. It was just an unusual, unique manifestation. Wow. What did you get anything out of this today? Again, thanks to our first timers who are here. Glad you're here. You guys seem to flow right with us. So, y'all good? It was good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Beautiful. Just remain standing and we'll play this, and then I'll speak a blessing over you.
Contributing to Metron is quick and easy. You can give anytime using any smartphone. Text the amount you would like to donate to 404-620-5044. You will then receive a notification that you successfully completed your donation. You may also visit bishonthennow.com and click the support tab to give there as well. When you contribute to Metron, you're also donating to the charity or organization of the month. Thank you for your investment into Metron.
If you have a check, make it to JESM, and Danny will receive that. If you have cash, just pay it forward and be a blessing to somebody. Wow, this was so good today. I love you all so much. So glad that you're in my flow with me, and you're just a part of me. Love you. You're gonna have a beautiful, restful day. You have everything you need, and it will manifest at the right time. Good night's sleep. Your youth is being renewed in your sleep, and you wake up tomorrow a little younger than you are today. Productive week. You wake up tomorrow saying, this is the day the Lord has enabled me to make. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Peace.